Okay, so I meant to do this yesterday, but StreamYard was acting up and wasn't wanting to connect to Facebook. So here I'm doing it just like really early the next morning, and I might do another one later this afternoon. I don't know. I've got some other DC multiverse I can be opening, and next week I've got big plans. Let me show you what I've got coming up next week. So I've got a whole bunch of NECA monsters that I'm going to open up. First of all, I've got this Ultimate Edition of Dracula, my personal favorite Universal monster. So we'll be opening him up. That's not all. I've got the glow-in-the-dark version of Dracula that I got from NECA. Got delivered to me yesterday. And, of course, I've got Frankenstein and the Wolfman, both in their glow-in-the-dark forms. So we've got a lot to discuss as far as the Universal monsters go. So I'm really excited about that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because we've still got one more figure to open in the Arkham City series, and that is Batman himself. And you can see that he comes with the legs for Solomon Grundy. And I've got over here the Penguin. And I've got Ra's al Ghul. And hold her out of storage just for the occasion, Catwoman. Hi, Aunt June. How you doing? Aunt June got to catch me live. She always likes to catch me live whenever she can. And if you want to make sure you catch me live, make sure you like and subscribe and hit the little bell down there, and that'll help with the YouTube algorithm. All right, so there we see it's Batman from Batman Arkham City. There's the front of the box. Build-A-Figure Solomon Grundy. Got the back with the picture of Solomon Grundy again, and instructions on how to put the figure together. Got cross-cell artwork of the Penguin, Ra's al Ghul, Catwoman, and Batman. So let's go ahead and open them up. Even though I'm not really tired yet, I'm probably going to want to go to sleep soon. But I did want to go ahead and get this one out of the way. Yay, Batman, indeed. So here we go. Now, I've got a lot of Batman action figures, not just from Mcfarlane, but, you know, over the years, I have accrued many of them. So I've got a couple over here just handy where I've got, again, the Clooney Batman, happen to have nearby, and not the Mcfarlane Batman over here, but I do have the NECA of Michael Keaton as Batman. Have those handy. But this one was from the video game Arkham City, the second in the Arkham trilogy, where he was voiced by the dearly departed Kevin Conroy. We lost him fairly recently. It still feels fresh to me, man. I gotta say, like Kevin Conroy, that was many people say when they read Batman comics, Kevin Conroy is the voice that they hear in their head. I'll go them one further. If you're not hearing the voice of Kevin Conroy in your head when you read a Batman comic, you're just doing it wrong. So there we go. We got the rubber tabs cut for Solomon Grundy. Now, I had somebody say in one of the comments earlier that, you know, oh, well, they don't put the rubber tabs on there to keep them from falling out of the box. They keep the rubber tabs on there so that, like, you know, it's a lot more noisy when they have to take it out of the package. This ain't exactly silent here, is it? All this popping and scraping around. Like, that's sound logic, I suppose. But I'm afraid I'm going to have to disagree with it. All right, so we got some sockets in there, and then we'll plug those into the legs of our Solomon Grundy Build-A-Figure, which is the main reason that I went ahead and bought the remainder of these figures. Yeah, Batman's pretty cool. I've got so many Batman figures already, though. Did I really need another one? Well, I do like that design, so I don't mind having another one, certainly. And I did not have any Mcfarlane scale figures of the Penguin or Ra's al Ghul. It does sound silly, doesn't it? So I don't want to be rude, though. So there is Solomon Grundy, finally put together. Very cool looking. And let's put him next to his fellow Legion of Doom member, just for scale. There he is with Sinestro. So you can see how big he is next to a regular-sized Mcfarlane figure. We're going to talk more about Solomon Grundy in an upcoming episode. And we will be getting to the monitor. I promise. I haven't forgotten about the monitor. I'm going to get back to the monitor. So, but for now, let's go ahead and talk about this Batman figure. But before I talk about the figure itself, got to make sure we read that trading card, don't we? And thankfully, I was able to get it off there just fine. And I wasn't sure, looking at the cross-sell artwork, if this was a picture of the action figure or a picture of like a still from the game. And looking at it in person, he's cool but ugly. Yes, he is. He's a dead guy, Aunt June. he's got to look ugly. He's like, you know, kind of a Frankenstein-inspired character. I'll be talking about more about him in a future episode, so you won't miss it. I know you won't miss it. All right. So, yeah, there's the front of the card. And like I said, it looks like it's a still from the game. And that's what the back of the card looks like. Now let's go ahead and read it. It says, Batman Arkham City, data file, real name Bruce Wayne. When his parents were gunned down in front of him, young Bruce Wayne resolved to rid Gotham City of the criminal element that took their lives. He trained extensively to achieve mental and physical perfection, in addition to mastering martial arts, detective techniques, and criminal psychology. Dressing as a bat to prey on his criminals' fears, Batman fights crime with the aid of specialized gadgets and vehicles, operating out of the secretive Batcave below Wayne Manor. All right, so there's the trading card out of the way. And then the last piece that we have on this cardboard insert from the back of the package, there's a look at that in case you didn't get a look before. The figure stand. Every figure should come with a figure stand, and Mcfarlane's usually pretty good about it. They don't have one with their superpowers figures, though. So Mcfarlane, you guys need to get on that. I want some stands for my superpowers. All right. Now, onto the figure proper. So, where did I put my X-Acto knife this time? I'm always misplacing that thing. There it is. First, we'll get out his single accessory. Doesn't have any extra hands. He does have a grappling hook launcher, which fans of the 1989 Batman movie, you'll recognize this particular piece of equipment. It doesn't look exactly like that one, but it does have a lot of influence for the 1989 Batman grappling hook launcher, the one that Michael Keaton used. I do give that movie credit for popularizing the Batman grappling hook launcher, although he did use one sometimes in the comic books occasionally. Oh man, this is going to be tricky. I don't think I'm going to go from the back this time, just because of how tricky I think it's going to be. So that means I'm going to have to pull them taut and cut them. It's the stretchiness that makes the rubber tabs bad for me. I even like the little paper ties better than the rubber tabs. Rubber tabs are just the worst. I like regular rubber bands better than rubber tabs. We could use rubber bands, and I'd still complain, but I wouldn't complain as much. All right, so we got another one here at this elbow. Man, that one's really tight. And then one about his waist. And that's one of the dreaded double rubber tabs. They have to be double rubber tabs? Is that going to discourage the shoplifters? Maybe the shoplifters could just bring an X-Acto knife into the store with them. I'm just saying. But again, listen to it pop and crack when I pull this thing out. It's still going to make noise. So, I'm just saying. All right, so now we got Batman out of the package, and man, that is an impressive sculpt. Now, one thing that I can tell that is different, and like I said, I've never played the video game really. I played a little bit of it, the first one, but never played Arkham City really. But one thing that I noticed that instantly is different from what he looks like in the video game is in the video game, they actually did give him irises in the eyes. Like he had normal human looking eyes. He did not have blank white eyes like that. Like maybe they might have his eyes go white when he's in detective mode or something like that. I don't know. Like I said, haven't played it. But yeah, every image that I see from the game, you can see his eyeballs, and here it's just the plain white eyes, like we traditionally associate with Batman. I'm not going to complain about that, though. I think that I definitely don't mind the comic book look. I am fine with that. but I can see how somebody, if they were like really into the game, might be a little particular about that. It is a very impressive looking head sculpt. Got some nice long ears to it. I do feel like the head sculpt on this, while it does have a lot of influence from the live action movies as well, it does kind of evoke a Neil Adams kind of feel a little bit. Although the longer ears kind of remind me a little bit of Kelly Jones, but they're not quite as exaggeratedly long as Mr. Jones would often draw Batman's ears. So good coloring on it. It's got, of course, a black cape and cowl, black gloves, black boots, a more heavily armored look to the gloves and boots than what we have in the comic book generally. But that's fine. Just basically, this is the comic book Batman suit, but they just added a little more surface detail to it. I remember when the first Arkham game came out, and I said, man, that's what Batman ought to look like in live action. And that's basically what they did when they got to the Ben Affleck Batman movie. You know what? I'm going to go grab that Affleck Batman figure. I feel like that's worth comparing. That's worth me getting up and going across the room and getting it. So we'll go ahead and compare him with Ben Affleck. Now, one thing that I will say that I like better with the Arkham suit than the BVS suit here is I do like those longer ears. I think that's really cool. But I do think the shorter ears actually work in the live action context. That's fine. You can see the coloring on these is almost identical. The gray is just slightly more bluish on the Affleck figure. I don't know if that's coming across on the camera, though. On the camera, they look pretty much the same. They both have the black bat across the chest. Only the Arkham version has trunks. The Affleck version does not have black trunks. And then the black gloves, black boots. With the Arkham figure, they did actually do metallic paint on the knuckles. That's quite nice. You can see that his Affleck's fins are a bit more squared off and more Frank Miller-ish, whereas the Arkham versions are a bit longer and nastier looking. So yeah, that was worth comparing. And they're about the same height. And since this is an older figure, he has a plastic cape, whereas Mcfarlane started to give figures fabric capes. So I've got a lot more figures with fabric capes recently. Him and Earth 2 Superman and the Keaton Batman that came with the Batmobile. But it's an impressive looking bat suit. I really like this bat suit. It's like I said, I was kind of hoping they would make the when I saw it in the video game, I was kind of hoping, oh, they should do that in live action, and they pretty much did with the Ben Affleck suit. So that's pretty cool. Let's talk about his articulation now. All right, so Batman can look up about that far. Pretty decent range of motion for looking up. He can look down about that far. Not quite as good at looking down as looking up. He can tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side. Maybe he just heard somebody say that Robert Pattinson was the most comic book accurate version of Batman on film, and that confused him. I know it always confuses me when I hear people say that. All right, so his arms rotate all the way around at the shoulder, but bear in mind he does have this cape that kind of folds over his shoulders, and that kind of limits it a little bit. I will say that I really like the look of the cape falling over his shoulders. I think they did a really good job with that. He can move his arms up about that far, which, again, cape's kind of hindering that a little bit, but that's to be expected. He does have butterfly joints. I almost thought he didn't have them, but just because of the way his arms are folded. But again, they kind of bump into the cape a little bit, so they don't look quite as good as you might like. Rotates at the bicep all the way around. He only has a single joint at the elbow, not double jointed elbows. So that's as far as you can bend Batman's elbows. So how did they give the Penguin double jointed elbows, but did not give Batman double jointed elbows? Aunt June says, "You know your Batmans." Yeah, I like to think so. All right, so he does have the cool Mcfarlane torso articulation. We can move him all kinds of different ways at the torso, get a lot of good dramatic poses out of that. Legs kick up about that far. They are slightly hindered by the rubber trunk piece. So that's to be expected at this point. He does have double jointed knees. That one's a little stiff. That's as far as you can bend his knee. So that's pretty cool. He does not have a boot cut, even though it looks like, I think I might be painted this time. I don't know. But he does have the cool Mcfarlane ball jointed ankles, and those can move around every which way. By the way, I neglected to mention it before. He does have the Mcfarlane wrist articulation as well. That seems a little stiff. It does kind of bump into the armor on the gauntlet a little bit, but that's to be expected, I suppose. And we should get a shot of him holding the grappling hook gun, which fits snugly into his hand. So there he is with that. You can shoot the grappling hook gun up. That's nice. Oh yeah. Ankle points down about that far. Ankle points up about that far. And you could rotate it around every which way because it's on that cool ball joint. So, if you bought all 4 of these figures, so you could put together Solomon Grundy, I think you've got a pretty good assortment of Batman characters here. And they all look pretty cool. Batman and Catwoman both look pretty much the way they look in the comic books. Like I said, a little more surface detail on these characters, but that's pretty much a classic Batman outfit. Like, other than him having, like, you know, slightly more armor on the forearms and the shins because of the armored boots and gloves, you know, and then again, like certain textures and seams and things like that. That's pretty much a classic comic book Batman. That you could put this with, you know, other comic book superheroes in this scale. Like, he's not going to look too out of place next to your standard Superman action figure, for example. Or, you know, somebody like Green Lantern. You know, you can put him next to these guys. This guy actually probably looks better next to this Batman because, like I said, I kind of feel like the detail on this one is a little more video gamey. But, or even somebody like, say, the Riddler, our goofy Silver Age comic book Riddler. I think that, you know, he still works next to that. That still works pretty well. So, so yeah, that's pretty cool. We got Ra's al Ghul, who, like I said, has kind of a slightly updated look in this versus the comic books, but is still definitely recognizable as Ra's al Ghul. Likewise, with the Penguin, you know, you're not going to mistake that for any other character. That's certainly the Penguin. You're not going to look at that and be like, hey, wait a minute, is that Robert De Niro as Al Capone in The Untouchables? No, this is clearly the Penguin. He's got a top hat and a monocle and an umbrella, and he's a little short, fat dude like the Penguin ought to be. And, of course, Catwoman, based on my favorite design of Catwoman by Darwin Cook, the late, great Darwin Cook. And don't they look cute together? Yeah, they did a nice job with this Catwoman figure. I really like this Catwoman. So, and I really like this Batman. I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. So it's possible that if it weren't a Build-A-Figure set, I might have skipped out on this Batman just because I've got so many Batman figures as it is. But you know, I'm glad I got him. So thank God they put a Solomon Grundy Build-A-Figure in there. I could go ahead and buy all of them. So that's pretty much it for Arkham City, except for you know, the little video I'm going to do talking about Solomon Grundy coming up. So I'll probably do that tomorrow in the afternoon. I'll probably go ahead and knock out the Solomon Grundy and the Monitor Build-A-Figure reviews. And I'll do a couple of more Mcfarlane DC Multiverse this week. Today is Thursday, I believe. So that means that if I do those 2 tomorrow, then Friday I can go ahead and do another video. Probably Saturday I'll go ahead and do another video. And then next week, we're going to do the Universal Monsters that I have. Now, I'm going to be starting with Ultimate Dracula. I'm going to do this on Monday. And I'm going to start with Ultimate Dracula because I kind of feel like this is a little bit more of a default Dracula than the glow-in-the-dark one. Look at all the cool stuff he comes with. So we're definitely going to want to do him first. And then I will move on to Frankenstein. Which, I'm really excited about talking about these glow-in-the-dark figures. Not just because I think they're interesting figures in and of themselves, but they remind me of what they're designed to look like is the Remco monster figures of the early 1980s. So we got the Wolfman, So I will do Frankenstein. I will do Monday. I will do Ultimate Dracula. Tuesday I will do Glow in the Dark Frankenstein. Wednesday I will do Glow in the Dark Wolfman, and then we will round out our Glow in the Dark monsters with Dracula. And I definitely wanted to do the Ultimate Dracula before I did this one, since it's, you know, basically a repay to that figure. But in this, I really like the way that they did these, where like they've got kind of like a very simplistic 80s, like early 80s type paint job on them. It's still like the really detailed NECA sculpts, but the paint jobs, those are what's really nostalgic for me. But that's pretty much it for the Arkham City Batman. Thanks for watching. I always appreciate you guys' viewership. I also appreciate any likes or, you know, comments below. So if you got any comments about this figure, please make sure you leave them below. Please make sure you like and subscribe. All that fun YouTube stuff down below. Hit the little bell if you want to be notified anytime I go live. I always like interacting with people in the comments. It's always a lot of fun. So if you want to be cool like my Aunt June, make sure you hit that little bell. All right, that's pretty much it for this episode. Thank you for watching. We will talk to you next time. Bye. That is the end.